What's up guys, it's Ramal for Life here today. I'm back with another video. Now this video is going to be weird. I don't know what to title it as. I've done this a couple of times trying to, get it right. But personally, I feel like this is far too much, too complex of topic to make a whole video about. Personally, I also don't have enough knowledge or research done on this to make a whole lengthy video on this. So I'm not going to waste my time on that. I'm just going to go through a couple of things and why I don't like it. Now, the reason why I made this video was specifically due to there's a commenter on my Jiren being beyond time video where he stated that there's different concepts of time and infinity and other dimensions, and you see this a lot as somebody who's in the versus or the power scaling community, where we have characters who are ridiculously OP that can destroy universes and multiple of them, and have characters that can move faster than the speed of light, and we get statements like, oh, this character has immeasurable speed, this character has infinite speed, this character has inaccessible speed. And then you see with power, where you say this character is universal, this character is universal plus, this character is multiversal, this character is outer dimensional, and all this stupid shit. Personally, I don't like this because I feel like when people use this type of argument, they're going through a specific set of an explanation, which is through string theory itself, because these higher dimensions and these planes of existence come from string theory itself. Now, string theory suggests that there are higher dimensions and planes of existence out there, and the way that it works is if you're on a higher plane of existence, you're infinitely above the one below you, and there's stated to be 11. Now there's also some people say, well, there's 25, and I'll get to why people who say that are just being stupid and don't know what the hell they're talking about. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because when we get to more ridiculously OP characters, we hear a lot of YouTubers like Set the Programmer, Chuck, or any of other these power scalers and stuff making these statements saying this character's infinite fourth dimensional level, this character's infinite 5-dimensional level, to example their strength, and they go based off of string theory. Now the whole 25 and 11 stuff is, there are two different types of string theory. There is regular string theory, which is basically encompasses 11 dimensions, and then there's this other string theory, I forgot what it's called, where it comes to 25, but the 11 ones, where it's the more commonly known one, that one is basically just a description of higher dimensions, whereas the 25 one is basically a mathematical equation of it. So let's stop with this 25 dimensions. There's no real 25 dimensions in string theory. That is just a mathematical equation, unless you're talking about specifically a mathematical equation, which you're not, so you don't know what the hell you're talking about. We're talking about just the description. But even that, let's be honest, string theory is technically still a theory. It has not been proven, and there's a big reason why it's not been proven, and why I feel like it doesn't make sense to use in power scaling. And I know the verses, if you go on versus wiki, because they have a whole articles on this, and they have this whole blog thing where they go through these different higher dimensions, and there's the way they handle it a little bit differently, but they still go based off of string theory still. And the reason why I'm saying this is because this disagreement I had with this guy, which no hate towards him, but we've been going back and forth a little. And he's talking about, oh no, there's infinite other dimensions, he sits in this dimension. Personally, it pisses me off when I hear people talk like this, because I feel like they all just they have this one idea and they fell in line in it with it. Dimensional tiering does not make any goddamn sense to use in every universe. Yes, it works with some specific universes like Marvel and DC, where they specifically go by string theory and these higher dimensions, especially DC, where you have Mxyzptlk, which he's from the 6th dimension, so he's a 6th-dimensional imp. Whereas other fictional universes like Dragon Ball, they do not have those concepts in it. There is no higher dimensional plane. There's no 6th dimension stuff. And I get it, in real life there's the, we live in the 3rd dimension mixed in with the 4th dimension, which is time itself. Now, I will go through a little bit of brief description. I don't have the whole entire thing. I will put a link in it if you guys want to go check it out yourself. But the first dimension is basically length. You can go back and forth. The second dimension is a height, so it's length and a height. So you can go up, down, back, and forth. And our universe is the 3rd dimension, which is length, width, and depth, which is basically all encompassing, and basically gives us a third dimensional, move ability to move. So we can move up, down, left, right, back, forward, side to side. We can move any direction we want to. If you look at the first dimension, it will just be a line. Second dimension, you can think of it as just a circle. The third dimension will be a sphere, a cube, a cylinder. So it's like more like well-rounded shapes and stuff. So we can go from that. And then the fourth dimension is time itself. We do have time here, obviously concepts of time. It does depend on how it works. Like if you go to different planets, the way time works is how long does it take a planet to revolve around its sun, and how fast does it take to rotate fully. And that's how we get the days, the months and stuff. But if we go to different planets, a year will be different on there, so time can stretch out, and a whole day can be different. And even in our world, time always gets longer and longer due to the moon and stuff. The moon gets further and further away every year, but it's like a very small amount. It gets further and further away from the Earth, and it extends out the time. If you look at Earth when it early started off, the days were a lot shorter. The days were only a couple of hours, but as time passed on, it started to stretch out more until it became like 24 hours, which technically that's not true. It's stated to be 23 hours and 57 minutes long a year, but they just ran it up to 24 hours. But yeah, it's getting close to that. So that's what we use. And then the fourth dimension, it's in its own existence. You would be able to not only go through, move throughout throughout all the spatial dimensions, but throughout time itself. So you'll be able to go back in time, forward in time. You'll be able to speed up time, reverse time, all these other stuff. We can do a little bit of manipulation in our world where we can slow down time or extend it due to some circumstances, such as if you fly in a rocket, if you go further distance away from the Earth, time does start to dilate and slow down. Especially if you go faster, you can move slower. So if you're in outer space and you come back, time will move faster on Earth than it does out there. It'll be slowed down for you. So you will age slowly if you go to outer space than if you were to stay on Earth. And that's why time is very it's a very complicated concept to grasp. And I don't want to go into it too depth. I don't want to bog your minds down. Personally, it's too much for me to even explain. I think the best thing is to go through a physicist or a quantum physicist that will explain this far better. Though trust me, you guys are probably gonna be like, after a while, like, this is too much. But the reason why I'm saying this is he was saying there's other planes of dimensions and stuff in time. I'm like, nope. Not in DC, not in Dragon Ball. That's not how Dragon Ball works. And I don't give a shit what any of these scalers say. Oh, there's these other dimensions. They're trying to sound smarter, and I get it. They're trying to classify it because when these characters get to these ridiculous levels of power, it's hard to categorize them. When they're low levels of power, you can at least say they're Mach this many times. When it comes to speed, when it comes to strength, they say, oh, you can destroy a city, you can destroy a planet, you can have this much, joules of energy you can release and stuff like that. But when it gets to the ridiculous levels, the best ways to do is say, oh, they have other dimensions and stuff. But I don't really consider that fourth dimension, because let's be honest, Dragon Ball does not have other dimensions. There's no sixth dimension in Dragon Ball. There's no seventh dimension in Dragon Ball. So where the hell does this concept come from? Also, the way string theory works is it literally entirely works off of the multiverse itself. Because when you get higher, you get to the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is basically a parallel Earth. So basically just a duplicate of Earth with just a different timeline. And then we have, above that, we have the sixth dimension, which is just the multiverse, which is a collection of all parallel universes. Then we have the seventh dimension, which is another set of a multiverse, which is basically a collection of other universes that are different than our own in its own bubble. Then we have the ninth dimension, which is the collection of all those other universes. And then you get to the point where it gets to an omniverse, which is basically every dimension, no matter what it is, time, whether it's space, whether it's other realities, whatever. But the problem with that is it requires it to have a multiverse. And in my first video, literally on my first video on this channel, I explained how Dragon Ball does not have a multiverse. The Dragon Ball world does not go by a multiverse. The reason why it works for DC and Marvel in other universes usually generally is because they do go by a multiversal concept, which is still a theory. I know a lot of people say, well, there's a multiverse out there. No, that's just a concept, which I've also made a video on in my second video that I ever created, which I say I don't agree with it for obvious reasons. I will go through it a little bit more in this video, but yeah, I don't believe in that thing. Not every person who even in the scientist community believes in it. Personally, I do think it's kind of bullshit, and I'll get into why I think it's bullshit, even though I've explained in my video before. But yeah, the multiverse. The reason why string theory works is due to the multiverse. And the multiverse exists in some universes. DC has a multiverse. DC has, countless other parallel universes. So does Marvel. But Dragon Ball does not have that. Dragon Ball has other universes, but all these universes are unique in their own. And the way they did is kind of a little more creative. The reason why I say this is because there are duplicate Earths, or duplicate worlds, but the way this works is these collections are only in pairs of 2. So it's Universe 6 and 7 are parallel ones. Then we have Universe 12 and 1, and then all the way down to that. You already know. But the way that works is still different than a parallel universe, because the way a parallel universe works is basically the same universe and cosmology, just a little bit, it just a little bit changes. But the way it's explained in Dragon Ball is they're considered twin universes. And some of you might say, well, isn't that the same? They have the same races. They have Saiyans, they have Earthlings, they have Earth. Obviously, the timeline is different, just like how you do that. But the only one big difference is, for there to be a parallel worlds, the way the parallel world works is they have doppelgangers. So if you go to DC, there's different versions of Superman, there's different versions of Batman, there's different versions of Clark Kent and stuff. Dragon Ball, when you go to these other ones, they have the same races, but they do not have, they do not have duplicates of them. So if you go to Universe 6, you're not going to find a duplicate of Goku, Vegeta. You're not going to find a duplicate of Trunks or whatever. They're all their own unique people. They just have the same race. So it's different in that regard already. And then on top of it, it gets even more confusing because what's the thing called? There's only 2 of them, and then the rest of the universes are all different between their own selves. So Dragon Ball does not go on the concept of the multiverse. So technically, it doesn't count. Now, this guy said, well, just because it doesn't have the multiverse doesn't mean it can't work, and that unless they explain otherwise. But it's never been explained to have higher dimensions in this world. These higher dimension stuff, like I said, is just an easier way for some certain people to explain. Sorry for that. To explain how how powerful these guys get. Personally, I do think it's a kind of a cop out to be like, oh, this character is 11 dimensional, oh, this character is infinite dimensional, and I feel like a lot of people do over exaggerate because, like, for example, look at Zeno. People say, well, Zeno can only wipe out 12 universes. To be multiversal, you have to wipe out 1,000 plus universes, which that is just made up by by people itself, and we just went along with it. I don't go along with it, but it's just made up by the people itself, and they just went along with that shit, and they're like, yep, that makes sense, we all agree on it. But there's no real definition in at all that multiversal means you have to be 1,000 universes. That's just some number that they just randomly came up with. But yeah, people say, well, Zeno's not multiversal, so he's not 6-dimensional, he's not this and that, and I'm just like, here's the thing. Just because Dragon Ball only has 12 universes and he wipes out 12 does not mean that's his max. He can wipe out more than 12, obviously. He easily can do it. That doesn't mean he can't do it. It's just that it hasn't been shown because there's no other universes. This doesn't mean if there was 100 universes or 1,000 universes that he wouldn't be able to wipe it out. It just means that with a set universe is how much he can wipe out. But whatever. Like I said, the reason why I personally don't like, multiverse theory and string theory is because I don't believe that there are duplicate of our universe. It doesn't really make much sense that in how chaotic the universe is and how complex it is, that it would be able to copy the same thing. I think it's more reasonable I still do think that there could be other universes out there, but in my mind, I think that there are other universes. I think they're going to be completely different than our own. I don't think there's going to be doppelgangers of us. You're not going to see another version of me. You're not going to see another version of the Earth. You're going to see completely different races, completely different people, completely different cosmology. They might have some stuff similar, like how solar system works and stars and stuff. But I do think it's going to have different cosmology. And Dragon Ball doesn't go by that concept. Marvel and DC do. They have parallel universes and stuff. So technically, string theory does not work in Dragon Ball, and it doesn't really make much sense. So yeah, you can't really use string theory in higher dimensions. And people say he was keep on saying dimensions, 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 and I'm like, what the fuck are these dimensions? Are you talking about? You mean the dimensions that will explain that? Well, Dragon Ball doesn't go by those dimensions, and those dimensions aren't proven in our world. There's not set in stone that there's actually 11 dimensions in our universe. Hell, there probably just only our universe. This whole stuff is just a theoretical concept that is supposed to, be more out of the box or whatever. But yeah, I don't go by it. I think it's kind of stupid, to be honest. These other what's the thing called, dimensions and shit, whatever. I think it's kind of dumb. I might make more in-depth video about this, but I don't know. But yeah, he was keep on saying there's this other dimension, that dimension. I'm like, they never said there's other dimensions. All they literally said was he was beyond time itself. And he said you have to be boundless. No, you do not. Also, these concepts of infinite, it makes no sense. There's no such thing as being infinite. Destroying the universe makes you infinite 3D. No, it doesn't. The universe itself is not infinite. There's no such thing as other other forms of infinite. There is just infinite. There's other categories of infinite, then it's not fucking infinite. That's not how infinite works. Like, you know how ridiculous that sounds? That makes no sense. I think a lot of these concepts don't make sense. I'll be making a video sometime later on where I go on this whole inaccessible speed and stuff like that, and infinite speed, because personally that shit is stupid itself, and I want to go on that. Yeah, stop with this dimensional tiering bullshit. Let's just go by it normally, okay? Stop saying, oh, there's a higher dimensions, 4-dimensional stuff. And I blame Seth the programmer. I blame that guy. That guy, he pushed the envelope with that shit. Like, just stop it. Like, there's no higher dimensions in Dragon Ball. DC might go with that concept, Marvel might go with that concept, but Dragon Ball doesn't. Unless it was stated otherwise, which they don't. The way Dragon Ball works is there's the regular universe, then there's other dimensions on top of that they've explained, and then there's a set of these all equaling 12, and that's it. And maybe like a couple other dimensions in it, hyperbolic time chamber and Zeno's realm, which is above that. That's it. Don't add in any of this other bullshit in there. Being 1,000 times universe level. Also, if that's all it takes to be multiverse level, then Goku and Vegeta should be multiverse level. If they can destroy a universe in their weakest form, I'm pretty sure their power can equal past 1,000, especially at this point. So yeah, I don't like these topics of this character is multiversal, this character is 6D, this character is a tier A1, whatever bullshit. I don't like that. I don't like the versus wiki stuff. It's kind of dumb. I just feel like it's over exaggeration. Yeah. So I don't want to go too much on this because I think this topic is a little more too complex and it's a little annoying, to be honest. It just pisses me off seeing this. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next time.